And lastly, back to you, Carl. Issues with heavy concentration of petroleum products in a pool and introduction of large amount of sewage, particularly in a situation with a vinyl liner pool.
Well, as I touched on earlier, petroleum products have detrimental effects on vinyl pool liners. The plasticizer that's used to make the liner material soft is an oil-based product. So what happens under normal circumstances, that's absorbed by the vinyl resin that makes up the material. Other petroleum products can also be absorbed into that vinyl resin material and soften the liner material or displace the plasticizer that's already there. Ultimately, it leads to embrittlement or a premature failure of the liner material. So obviously, if you're seeing evidence of a lot of oil type products in the pool, you have reason for concern in that regard.
Follow up on that.
Could we get Greg to comment on product oil in plaster?
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon that in a situation like this, I've looked at many pools where like bobcats have driven into pools, hydraulic fluid, that type of thing. It all is about how fast you respond. Like there are, for example, on the product, Chris, I don't know if your company makes some enzyme products that are very good at addressing specific oil-based products or petroleum-based products. I've used them with great success. It's all about timing. How fast, if you look at a pool and you identify that there has been an intrusion of petroleum-based products, you might ask people that specialize in making enzyme products that will directly target oil-based materials, get that stuff in there and start working. I've saved many plaster jobs by, again, treating, and the answer is as quickly as possible. The answer is always two things in short term. What is going to potentially cause a problem? The sewage, the sludge, absolutely, because most of these surfaces are porous. That stuff will penetrate. So you got to, number one, worry about safety of the consumer. You got to get that water safe, I mean, if nothing else. Then number two, treat it so that you don't compromise the long-term durability of the plaster or interior finish. And that may be using natural enzymes or other products that target specifically oil-based products to get them and break them down so that you don't have long-term effects. Kyle?
Follow up to that, if you empty the water out, is there a product to put on the plaster? Because I wouldn't empty a vinyl pool, but in a plaster pool, you empty it out, cleaning it with basic ultra-safe acid or polishing it, will that do it, or should you take an enzyme and spray it on there at that point?
And it's a great question, Kyle, because if the material is very dense, not a new product, but let's say a mature product, a year old, it's dense, let's say it's polymer modified, so it's got reduced porosity, you probably can do something like get in there and polish it and remove where most of the material will be damaged will be right at the surface. So you can polish it, power wash it, clean it up, remove as much of it as possible. Yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah, just a quick question on the enzymes, the oils and stuff on a liner surface. If this pool was underwater, especially salt water, isn't that water also on the backside of the liner? And is that not affecting the plasticity of that liner? So why even bother? I mean, honest, I'm looking at the customer who's going to get like long-term, oh God, $20,000, like all you needed was a liner. We're going to be dealing with 3 years later. We got to get these people up and running. And a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 liner reinstall, checking the bottom while we got it open and everything like that. If you stick together as a group of of what we do and what we know, and everybody's on the same ticket with this, they can call a different company down the road. Well, he said this. No, we agree with that. We want you to sign a disclaimer. I mean, you all stick together with it, and it's not a lie. It's the truth. But you all got to go come from the same target. Tell these people, look, you can do one side of the liner, do one side of this, do one side of that, but we, like you said, we can't tell. I just think we should really be honest with people and let them know what's going on. They're in for a lot of embarrassment with that pool back up. And like he said, it's an equipment replacement. Some of the laws in Jersey and New York, you can, if it's been under fresh water, go replace it. Just 2 cents.
I need to say something. I know it might sound stupid, but aren't most of the pools frozen?
Right now.
And what can you, how long is it going to be
We
like
had
that?
6 degrees last week, most places, and we're
But
50
what do you
degrees
do in the
today.
meantime?
Chances are there's still ice skating on them. There's not a lot you can do
It
unless
might
you
take
go out and you
till
chop
April
it out.
to thaw out.
Look, a lot of this, in my opinion, if you had your customers were affected by this, then the time to act in a timely manner was then. I know we're trying as an association to get the best information out, and sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. It took us a while to put the panel together and try to get the experts to have the answers to your questions. We also know that we're only 6-8 weeks away from the next season coming in. So we got to be ready for this to happen. So now, all right, so we have our pools. Some of these pools have been maybe hit the long exposed period of time. Now, hopefully, with everything we discussed, whether it's been overanalyzed or not, you have a better understanding of what's going on, and you're armed with what to do when it comes time to do it. And you might want to start putting letters together, and when you get home from here, this is what we've learned with this panel over the winter. Here's steps that you can take as a homeowner to prepare for this. Be prepared to have a big number attached to your opening because your equipment got wiped out. Because we're a company that is taking on the due diligence or taking on the policy that if you had 3, 4, 5 inches covering your pump, it's going to get replaced no matter what anybody on this panel says. That's your decision. It's not us. Yes, we're trying to come up with a common theme. We are. We can't tell you emphatically this is what you have to do. At the end of the day, it's your name on that. And all we can do is arm you with that best part of information. So when you're going home tonight, and when you're going, what's that?
Back was more than timely from the gentleman in the door. And I can't, we see this from an electrical side, but I see it from a structural side too because my company also does architecture. Don't neglect the stuff you can't see. It's the backside where you're going to see a lot of bugaboos show up that are going to cause you all kinds of grief and cause your clients all kinds of grief. The visible stuff is nice, but guys, the backside of that concrete is just as vulnerable as the front side, and particularly if you've got a vinyl liner pool with a steel structure, that structure is probably toast, or it will be within about a year.
So there's a lot of common sense. There's a lot of things that you guys, as the professionals, have to determine out there. Some of you are going to make mistakes. You're not going to know it right away. I mean, you listen to Greg. It could be a couple of years before that rust starts permeating through the plaster. If you put a fresh plaster on it, and it starts rusting through, and there are steps that can be taken.
Robbie?
Do the concrete test.
We're going to open it up to a couple
Oh,
of
great.
questions before we lose some of the panel people,
Lose?
okay? No, the panel, if they
Oh,
have to go other appointments. Can everybody stay for a little longer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing. When you start to approach this and you come to the client's houses, you come to the properties that you're taking care of, and you're going to work in a very prudent manner. You're going to CYA, and I don't mean just your rear end, but really behave in a way that covers the client's rear end. And you may be at a lot of Gold Coast type houses that had flooding from underneath that were on the water. Remember all the other things that there's nobody there to caution the client about. You know the houses, if they have extensive landscape lighting, all the other issues. Remind them that everything you're telling them about the house applies. The stuff that was in the garage, the basement, the stuff that's not under your care but is an issue on the property, you'll only gain goodwill through that whole process.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Anything? Do we cover things? Any other new questions?